So you guys have been wanting me to do a video on the Gucci Alchemist's Garden collection of fragrances. Well, guess what? Today I have one for you, and today I've got 10 fragrances in the Gucci Alchemist's Garden collection fragrances that I'm ranking for you. These are the eau de parfums, not the eaus or the oils, so I will not be featuring them today, but all 10 eau de parfums that are available. 7 launched last year, 3 launched this year. I'm ranking today for you. First, I'm going to tell you about the fragrances, and then I'll rank them at the end of the video. So if you're curious to learn about this collection of fragrances from Gucci, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian with Smelling Great Fragrance Reviews, and we are talking about Gucci, the Alchemist's Garden collection fragrances. 10 total fragrances. I'm ranking them for you, but before I get to the rankings, like I said, I'm going to tell you about each fragrance, and perhaps you might like them. And you know, this is an interesting collection. I didn't know they were launching them when they launched them. And when they did, I felt that they were a little overpriced, but I'll tell you all about them, the good and the bad about these fragrances. I do enjoy several of them as a fragrance, but I do have some criticism about the collection itself, and I'll tell you what those are. But before we get to all that information, if this is your first time tuning into this channel and you still haven't subscribed to my channel, please do click the subscribe button below and also click the bell so you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. So Gucci, the Alchemist's Garden collection launched January of 2019. Actually, when they launched, I was in London. And London is known for perfume shopping, so I was actually frequenting Selfridges and Harrods. And I noticed it first at Selfridges, and I immediately Instagrammed about them because they had just put them out, they had said. And then finally at Harrods as well. They made a big deal about this collection. And you know, some of it is impressive, some of it is not. One of the criticisms I have about this collection is that they're overpriced. $330 for 100 ml. All of them are in this price category in the eau de parfums because the oils are higher priced. The waters or eaus are less than the price I quoted you. But one fragrance that's a little more limited distribution, you can only buy it at the Gucci boutique, is $370. So I'm going to tell you which those are. But again, these are a little overpriced, I think, for what you get. $330 for a 100 ml bottle I feel like is a little overpriced for what you are getting. But some of the fragrances are definitely smelling great, and I do love having them. In comparison to also another luxury boutique or luxury house like Louis Vuitton, definitely overpriced. Louis Vuitton launched their 100 ml bottles for $240 when they launched in 2016. So the great thing about the Louis Vuitton fragrances are not only are they less expensive, they're refillable. So once you have the bottle and you emptied the bottle out, you go back and you refill it. And at the time when they first launched, it was $150. Now the fragrances, I believe, are $265 as a 100 ml bottle, or maybe $275, and the refills are $165. So the prices are definitely less, and you can refill them. But these are beautiful bottles. Sadly, you can't refill them. This is the Rose. This is the Voice of the Snake, and I did a video about this and how I bought how I ended up with a fake. If you haven't caught that video, please do watch that. Then there's another bottle like this. This is the Chant for the Nymph, or a Chant for the Nymph. There's several in the white bottles. And the last one that's limited edition is this one, or not so distributed, as I should say, Hortus Sanitatis. So there's a total of 10 fragrances. We'll start off with the first one, A Song for the Rose, which is in this blue bottle. This is the only blue bottle like this. I mean, this is a bluish bottle as well, but Song for the Rose, I feel like, is a great rose fragrance. It does remind me of classic rose fragrances, and you know, I absolutely love the smell. It is beautiful, beautifully gorgeous rose. According to the notes, there's rose, musk, and woody notes. Yes, I get the woody notes. I do get the muskiness. But you know what? I also get some green twigs. There's some green twiggy smells in there, like leafy. So the rose itself doesn't seem like it's ultra mature, but then again, it is. So I feel like there's mature roses where the fragrance or the oil of the rose has like really like developed and become mature. So there is a kind of a jammy quality about it. But in the end, there's also kind of like a wet, dewy, young, fresh rose in there as well. So I like that about it. And it's a great fragrance for a rose lover. And, you know, it depends on if you like such a fragrance and if you like the price point of this fragrance. And as I said, it's a $330 for everyone except for the last fragrance I'm going to talk to you about. But if you love a fragrance and you love the smell and you have the money for it, then you probably think it'll be worth it for it, worth getting it. But for me, this is a great rose fragrance. Is it worth the price? Again, I'm not sure. I have it because I wanted it, but it might not be worth it for you because it might be similar to other rose fragrances. It's Gucci. It's a luxury house distributed by Coty, and so if they can put the price point to be $330, they can do that. But some of you might think this is a little overpriced. But as a smell, I feel like it's a pretty darn amazing smell for a rose fragrance. It has been overdone. It has been done before, but right now, as this fragrance, I really do enjoy it. So that's A Song for the Rose. That is the first one in the collection I wanted to talk to you about today, and I'll tell you how I rank that particular fragrance. But I also wanted to mention that all the fragrances are created by Alberto Morillas. He has been making every single one of the Gucci fragrances for a while. Not only the Alchemist's Garden collection, but a lot of the other releases in their signature lineup. And he works with the creative director of Gucci to do these. So that is the fragrance called A Song for the Rose. Check it out if you like the idea. One other thing I should say before I move on to the next fragrance is it might lean a little feminine for some of you, but I love that smell. It's a great rose. It smells authentic. It smells like you're smelling the rose off of rose bushes. And then also, just don't forget that I said that there are smells of roses in there that could come off like a mature rose and also a young, fresh rose. Okay, the second fragrance I'm going to talk to you about from the Gucci, the Alchemist's Garden collection, is the Voice of the Snake, this one right here. And this is the one I did a video about recently that I mentioned that I got a fake. And some of you criticized me for saying where the fakes came from, and it almost sounded like some of you were complaining and blaming a whole country because the fragrances came from various sources. I never was intending to do that, but if you haven't caught that video, go check it out. You can hear in the video I never really said anything except for the fact that where the fragrances were coming from, and that's basically all I did. But moving on, the Voice of the Snake is all about oud, patchouli, and saffron. In the end, it's all about oud. It's very warm. It's spicy. I get a nutty quality in here, like roasted nuts, dark nuts, bitter nuts, not necessarily like, you know, flavorful nuts. So there's a nutty quality. It's very earthy. There's saffron in here, so it's very leathery as well. So it's a combination of oud, warm spices, and woods and patchouli and leathery earthiness. In the end, I feel like what they did was it kind of reminds me of other Gucci ouds that I've tried before, especially the one that's discontinued, and I'm drawing a blank with the name now. Intense Oud, was it called? Anyway, I forgot the name. But you know, it is the different take on that style. It is smoky, it is woody, it is leathery, and lots of earthiness. So I like this one a lot. It's a little more challenging to wear because it's a little intense. It's intense in a way, as a smell it's intense, but as performance, it's not necessarily so intense. So you gotta like a fragrance like this or a smell like this in order to enjoy it. But if you do, you will enjoy wearing it over and over again. For me, I much prefer to wear A Song for the Rose over the Voice of the Snake, even though I enjoy the smell, if that makes sense. Anyway, the Voice of the Snake is a great scent. Check that one out if you feel like it, because I feel like if you're an oud lover and you like the designers, definitely that one will satisfy you. The next fragrance we're going to talk about is a fragrance I did review last year on the last day of summer, and this is called The Last Day of Summer. This is a really great aromatic, woody, spicy fragrance, and it smells like dry summer earth. So in the end, it has notes of cypress, vetiver, cedar, nutmeg, and patchouli. So it's very woody. It's very aromatic. There's some fresh, spicy elements. There's earthy, and then patchouli, and there's warm elements as well. It's almost like you're walking at the end of summer, the beginning of winter or fall days, and you're experiencing some cold and warm spices at the same time. Of course, here in California, you do experience like a lot of like dry, earth, dry vegetation, and there is a fragrance there. There's a smell there, and I think they've captured this perfectly here. So in the end, is it as strong of a smell as the Voice of the Snake, as in the creation? Not necessarily, but I prefer to wear this a lot more than the Voice of the Snake. Does that make sense? The Voice of the Snake can be a little challenging to wear, and you have to have a special occasion. You have to have thought it out to wear it. But I can grab the Last Day of Summer and wear it any time of the year, and I'd be fine with it, if that makes sense. So this is the Last Day of Summer. It's in the white bottle, of course. So far we've had the blue bottle of A Song for the Rose, the black bottle for the Voice of the Snake. Now the Last Day of Summer is in the white bottle. I'm not sure why they did this with this collection, because there's a total of 5 white bottles, and of course the blue and the black bottle is what they launched with. So I'm kind of going in the timeline. The next one is the Eyes of the Tiger. Remember that song, The Eye of the Tiger? It always reminds me of that song for some reason, from Rocky. So this one is basically their oriental fragrance, the amber fragrance. The Eyes of the Tiger is all about amber, vanilla, and labdanum. So it's a resinous balsamic concoction. The labdanum is pretty intense here. It is a bit smoky. It is definitely spicy. Of course, vanilla sweetens it up. But you know what? There's no mention of patchouli. I do get a little bit of a patchouli in the background, a little bit of like a head shop kind of a smell of spices and incense and things like that. So in the end, it's balsamic. It's got very much powdery elements. It definitely is amber. Like if you like amber in fragrances, definitely check this one out, because I feel like it's pretty solid. Again, it's in line with the collection. They're not overly intense as far as performance goes, but they have some great smells. Everything I've talked to you about today so far, I feel like the smells are great. We're going to get to a point where the smells kind of like will become a little lacking a little bit, and those might use caution in, you know, if you're looking into buying them, because I feel like they've already been done. And even though these 4 that I've talked about so far, they have been done, I feel like they've done great job with the creations. So anyway, that's the Eye of the Tiger. It's a great amber fragrance from the House of Gucci, the Alchemist's Garden collection. Check it out if you've been looking for a new amber fragrance. And as I said, at the end of the video I will rank the fragrances for you, but so far from what you've watched, can you guess what's my number 1? So the next fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is Tears of Iris. So Tears of Iris was recently featured in my Iris fragrances video, although it's not that recent. It's been a while, but it was, you know, within the last year. If you like Iris fragrances, you should go check that out. But Iris, or Tears of Iris from Gucci, features iris, angelica, sandalwood, and musk. So it's an ultra powdery, musky, woody floral concoction. And there's some light ambery touches under there, some light ambery touches, and I think it's probably either labdanum or something that they've featured in here, maybe some resins, or maybe a combination of the notes to create that kind of an ambery accord. I feel like it's a pretty solid iris fragrance. Iris is a little tough for me. I feel like iris just doesn't go anywhere unless it's in something like Diorum Parfum or Diorum Intense. I feel like if it's mostly focusing on the iris, it's basically I'm smelling powder. So iris is a bit tough for me. So even though I feel like this is a solid release, it's not one that I gravitate towards quite frequently. So in the end, is it worth it? I think it's basically up to you. If you've been eyeing this collection, best thing you can do is buy some samples to sample them to see what works best for you. Because again, as I said, they are a little pricey and they're not distributed very widely. They are at Saks Fifth Avenue stores online, and now in San Fran they were here. They're not even here, and even our Gucci boutique is not carrying the line apparently, from what I found out just recently as I was walking past and I asked in there. So I don't know why they're not distributed that well. Personally, in my opinion, I feel like the line didn't do very well. I just felt like they are overpriced. I mean, I have every single one of them, but if I would put myself in your shoes, you probably are saying this is a little overly expensive. And the fact that I compared to Louis Vuitton's fragrances, and those are not as highly priced as these, they need to redo their prices or something. I don't know, that's what I think. But check out the Iris, Tears of Iris, to see if you like it. And again, Iris is something that's not so easy to wear because it becomes one-dimensional for me, unless it's in a fragrance like Dior Homme Parfum or Dior Homme Intense. There are other Iris fragrances. I do like the note, don't get me wrong, and it's a very, very expensive note. But wearing just Iris by itself, which just kind of smells like it's mostly a powdery, musky Iris, I don't really, it's not exciting, if that makes sense to you guys. Anyway, Tears of Iris, another fragrance that was launched when they first launched these fragrances. The next one is Winter's Spring, this one right here. Winter's Spring focuses on mimosa, and I did feature this in my mimosa fragrances video, and I did that with Dahlia almost a year ago, so go check it out if you like this mimosa note. Mimosa as in this yellow flower. It's powdery and slightly almondy, but it smells like baby, like a baby face, baby, freshly washed baby skin. Just has a very kind of like childlike, innocent kind of a smell, which I can tolerate. Again, it's kind of the similar ballpark as the Iris, and for me the Iris, the Tears of Iris with the Winter Spring, it's a toss-up. Which one do I like better? It depends on my mood of the day. One might win out over the other. Right now I'm preferring the Winter Spring a little more than Tears of Iris, because when I smell it, even though it smells of this very powdery yellowish flower, has this kind of like innocent childlike quality. It's very like young smelling, with some slight powdery and musky touches and spicy touches. This because it features mimosa, musk, and black pepper. So I don't know. There are some green, kind of like stemmy kind of smells along with the notes in here as well. So I kind of am preferring this one because this one over the Tears of Iris smells a little more interesting to me rather than the Tears of Iris where it just goes Iris, nothing but Iris, if that makes sense. Anyway, Winter Spring, all about mimosa. Check it out if you like the idea of mimosa. And the last fragrance from the first initial launch in the Eau de Parfums is the Virgin Violet. And the Virgin Violet is a violet fragrance with iris, musk, and vanilla. And for me, this is not a note that I gravitate towards a lot. Violet as a violet smell, smelling like violet candy, is not a smell I like to wear. I mean, there are violet fragrances where it doesn't smell like violet candy that I like more. But when it smells like these like not hard, but like candied violet leaves or violet flowers that you can buy and eat, it's not something I like, even though I love gourmand and candy notes and things like that. But this one is violets, lots of violets, iris, musk, and vanilla. It's powdery, it's floral, it's woody, vanillic, and musky. Again, you might like this kind of a note. It might appeal to you more, but for me, when they first launched this fragrance, I ranked this, you know, in my head as my least favorite of the whole entire collection. It just doesn't really do it for me. I don't know why, but you might like it. Anyway, the Virgin Violet. So there's three fragrances that the house launched this year, and those are a Midnight Stroll, a Chant for the Nymph, and of course Hortus Sanitatis. Which one of the three is my favorite? I've mentioned it plenty of times. If you guys have been paying attention, you probably know. But we'll talk about a Chant for the Nymph first. A Chant for the Nymph is a tropical island getaway with honey. Even though there's no honey mentioned, when I smell this fragrance, I get honeyed flowers. But something about a Chant for the Nymph and a Midnight Stroll rubs me the wrong way. I don't know, I almost feel like they didn't put a lot of attention to detail in creating these fragrances. When you smell the good stuff, in the background there's something that makes the fragrance smell odd, like gummy, residue, resin, something that's like clinging around. And you know, when the perfumer is putting together the fragrance, they didn't like take out this like garbage kind of thing. I don't know. Does that make sense to you guys? It's almost like I'm smelling it. It smells great. It smells all this good stuff, but something in the background is like trying to creep in and like ruin the smell of the fragrance. Both of this one and a Midnight Stroll. It's disappointing for me. But in the end, when I've moved past that smell, this smells great. It smells tropical because it has frangipani flower, tiar flower, ylang ylang, and vanilla. And of course, as I said, there is something that smells like honey in here. Like all those notes are like drizzled in honey, and I'm picking up that smell. But whatever that smell is in the background, it kind of rubs me the wrong way. It's like almost like gummy residue, like that's clinged on, and like the perfumer forgot to remove it or like polish it or something. It's really weird. I wanted to love this a lot. It would have been up high when I'm ranking them, but it ended up at the bottom because that smell that's in the background. I don't know if you guys know this one, if you've sampled it. Let me know if you get this kind of like gummy residue kind of a smell that's trying to creep in and kind of like ruin the smell of the pleasant or beautiful tropical flowers. That's a Chant for the Nymph. And same with the Midnight Stroll. I was really looking forward to this. It sounded so good. Juniper, cade or cade note, which is basically juniper, frankincense, and cypress. It's aromatic, it's woody, it's got fresh, spicy qualities. Definitely balsamic, smoky, dark and smoky. But this, again, there's something gummy, like almost like these two fragrances were rushed. I don't know why, but there's something, they both have that weird gummy residue kind of a smell that's kind of like trying to take over whatever the smell of the cade and the frankincense and the cypress is. So in the end, those smell great, but what's this like interruption? What's trying to get in the way? What's trying to take over is causing it to smell not so good. So these two are kind of ranked low. This one not as low as this one, because this one to me, it's not smelling very great. I mean, I love the idea of cade with you know, the frankincense and cypress, but this one seems just completely rushed, like rushed out. Yeah, I mean, I even prefer the Virgin Violet over this one, and these are the kind of notes that I like, so it's a bummer. So that is a Midnight Stroll. Last but not least, Hortus Sanitatis, this one right here. So this one is a very, very unique smell. I really love it. I don't know if people would enjoy it because it smells like barbecued flowers and mostly roses. So there's vetiver, there's papyrus, there's ginger and cedar notes. So it's very, very woody. There's warm and spicy elements. It's very, very aromatic. There's some earthy elements because of that papyrus. It's green. Smoky comes in. As I said, it just reminds me of barbecued roses. Can you picture that? I don't know where the rose is coming from. There's no mention of roses in the notes. It might be just a combination of all the notes that they're using to create this kind of like smoked rose or barbecued rose smell. And actually, I really love it. It's become one of my favorites. It's a top 5 for me from this collection. So let's move forward with my ranking. A Song for the Rose is my number 1. I absolutely love this one. It is really, really great scent. The Voice of the Snake, even though it's not so wearable, I really love the way it smells. Just a great oud scent. Intense, dark, leathery, smoky. Really love it. So then we have The Last Day of Summer and The Eyes of the Tiger. Both of those are tied to me, so we can go 3 and 4. Although I should also put this one in there as well. So in the end, these 3 are tied together, and it's a toss-up between which one is 3, 4, and 5. Does that make sense? So my top 5 includes A Song for the Rose, The Voice of the Snake, Last Day of Summer, The Eyes of the Tiger, and Hortus Sanitatis. Those I definitely think are perfect fragrances from this collection. I love the way they smell. Now, as far as ranking the remainder of the collection, so Winter, Spring, and Tears of Iris would be next. So right now I'm feeling Winter, Spring, so I would put that at 6. Tears of Iris at number 7. The Virgin Violet at number 8. A Chant for the Nymph at number 9. Midnight Stroll at number 10. It's sad. It's really, really sad. This actually really, really smells great, except for that weird thing that happens at the end, like tries to creep in. Weird. I don't know why it does that. It's like almost like a mistake. Does that make sense? So why did they do that? Did they not test it out? I mean, Alessandro Michele is, I think that's his name. He's the creative director of Gucci. And then there's Alberto Morias. They must have rushed these. I don't know if it's because of the COVID thing, because they were announced pre-COVID, and that maybe they weren't able to like focus group it, like to get feedback from people. I don't even know if they do that, but I'm sure they do. But it just almost seems like there's a mistake within them. In the end, the ideas are great, but they're not like finished products, which is sad. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the Gucci, the Alchemist's Garden Collection fragrances. What are your thoughts about these fragrances? Again, Gucci is owned by Coty, or Coty is the distributor that releases these fragrances. And I feel like they are a little overpriced. They should have been refillable, so you can get them discounted the next time you refill these fragrances. There's no benefit except for the fact that it's ultra luxury, ultra expensive. Some of the fragrances are great, some of them are okay, some of them are mistakes to me. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the Gucci, the Alchemist's Garden Collection. Let me know if you have any of these fragrances. Let me know if you're a fan of Gucci fragrances. Let me know if you're a fan of Alberto Moria's, because as I said, he did create all these fragrances. And also let me know if you have any of the Les Eaux collection, or the O's, in the large white bottles, and also the green bottle oils. Do you use those? Because I just don't like any of those personally. The waters I like more than the oils, and I just don't use the oils. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching today. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Otherwise, please like this video, please share it, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.